Good afternoon and welcome to this Uni Taster Tuesday. My name is John and I'm here from UniTasterDays. We run these Uni Taster Tuesdays every single Tuesday at 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. The 12 o'clock event is where we explore a general subject of university, which might be things like how to apply to university, student finance. Today we're looking at picking a university course, and I'll tell you a bit more about that in a second. And then at 2 o'clock every single week, every single Tuesday, we run a subject event where you can find out more about studying a particular subject at university with different universities and different subjects every single week. In terms of today's event, this Uni Taster Tuesday, this is a general event, and today we're looking at picking universities, picking university courses, all aspects of the choices and the research you've got ahead of you. And I'm delighted to say that I'm joined by David from Newman University, Birmingham, and also Elle from Lancaster University to run two excellent sessions on that subject. Elle is going to speak second. Elle's session is going to give you really good tips about choosing a university. And in terms of our first session, David is joining us from Newman University, and David's going to look at researching universities and provide a tip, really useful tips when it comes to researching universities, whether that's the university you're going to study at and also the course you're going to do. I'll pass the floor straight away to David, who's going to provide a roughly 15-minute session looking at those two really useful subjects. Over to you, David.
Hi, welcome everyone. I'm going to be talking to you today on researching university and course options. So my name is David Handy. I'm Senior Student Recruitment Manager at Newman University in Birmingham. I've been there now for a couple of years. Prior to that, I had 15 years in secondary schools. I was head of sixth form and head of careers for quite a significant amount of time. So I've got a lot of experience in supporting young people through to university. So hopefully I'll be passing on some practical tips and tricks to you today. So during this session, we're going to cover picking your subject, your course and university location, some top tips. We're going to look at starting your research. I'm going to briefly introduce UCAS to you, the University and College Admission Service. We're going to have a look at some university league tables. And to finish off, we're going to have a look at events and virtual activities that you may be undertaking over the course of the next few months. To start in that research process, I'm sure many of you have been spending a lot of time thinking about this over the course of the last few months, having to think about what it is you might want to study at university, maybe where you might want to go. But I can give you some tips today that will hopefully help you to refine those thoughts as you start to do some pretty serious research and complete your applications over the course of the next few months. So when you're thinking about a subject, you may have a very specific career in mind, which you'll have to do a particular degree for instance, going on to be a doctor, those medicine degree programs. But typically I would say to think about what it is that you enjoy, what it is that you're good at. If you tick both of those boxes, that for me would probably be a good indication that might be something that you might want to continue with your studies at university. Some advice I used to give to my students would be, if there's something that you really enjoy, but academically it's been a really big challenge to you, you're struggling to get the grades, I would probably advise you to perhaps steer away from that subject option or look at other opportunities within that subject area, because it's only going to get more difficult when you progress on to university for perhaps 3 or more years of study. Likewise, if there's something that you're really, really good at, but you find that you haven't got the motivation, you haven't got the enjoyment for studying it. I'm going to use the example here of I had students who were very good at physics, very good at maths, but what they found was it was a real struggle for them to do the work and meet the deadlines. Again, that might be something that you might want to avoid when you move to university, because at the end of the day, you've got to have that motivation, you've got the passion for the subject as you move forwards, because you'll be studying that in a lot of depth over the course of those few years and committing a lot of your time to that. When we think about the types of course that are out there, okay, so you've got single honours courses. This is where you'll do one subject area, but you do lots of different sort of units within that. So let's say, for instance, let's take history as the example here. You can do history at one university, but actually history at another university down the road may have a different course. So it's really important as part of your research that you're looking at the different units that are on offer. The reason that they do vary from university to university is because it's very much based upon an academic specialism. Okay, so it might well be that the academics at one university have got a particular interest in one part of a subject area, and at another university they've got other interests that they're very much teaching on. Okay, so be aware of that when you're looking at single honours courses. Joint honours programmes, it's where you'll do two subjects together. So let's say, for example, here, psychology with counselling studies. So you've got those two, they go very well together. And there's different forms of joint honours. The vast majority you'll see, you'll do 50% of each subject. Some universities offer what some people call the major and minor model. So you'll do more, you'll major in one subject area, and your minor, you'll do less in the other. A sandwich course, sadly, isn't a course in sandwich making. That would be absolutely fantastic. But a sandwich course is one where you'll spend a year on a work placement. So typically the way sandwich programs will operate is that you'll do year 1 and 2 at university as normal. Year 3 will normally be a whole year out in the workplace, working with real life people on real life projects before you return to work for year 4. It's really good to have that under your belt, to be able to promote that when you're starting to apply for jobs. You know, you've got that experience, you've got those contacts that you've made out there in the wider world. That is something really very much that you could champion. Other universities will have, for instance, they might not do sandwich courses, but they may have compulsory work placements in year 2. One of your modules is a work placement. So you need to be thinking about that when you're thinking about perhaps your graduate employability. And then you have foundation pathways. So you have foundation degrees, which are the equivalent of level 4 and 5, the first 2 years of a normal undergraduate program. And then you have foundation years, which typically, if you haven't quite met the entry requirements for the normal undergraduate program, you'll do an additional year to build up your skills to hopefully progress onto that course. Think about where to study. I'm not going to say too much about this today, but you could perhaps stay local to the area that you're in. I'm based in the West Midlands with Newman University in Birmingham. So here you're very much blessed with a whole wealth of providers in the area. You know, and I'm aware today, you know, people listening to this may well be based all over the UK or indeed beyond. Okay, so you might want to be staying local to home where you can commute, so travel to university every day. You might want to move away from home, go and live in university halls or private rented accommodation. And indeed, there's always those opportunities perhaps to go and study abroad as well. So I mentioned UCAS at the start of this session, the Universities and College Admission Service. I'm sure many of you will have heard of UCAS already. This is where you'll be completing your university applications. Okay, so you'll be a website you become very familiar with. I personally really like their course finder on the front page of their website. So their website address is www.ucas.com. On their course finder, you can type in a particular area that you're interested in. So you can type history and it'll return all the history courses and courses related to history. You can search based upon location, or you can bring up all the courses at one university, for instance. You know, if there's a particular institution that you really want to study at, you could bring up all the courses that are offered there. Thing I like about UCAS is there are links to those university websites. I think that's really important because you'll be able to go onto there, have a look at videos that students have made, videos about the courses. And another thing that is really good with UCAS, and so I used to very much tell my students about, was the entry profiles and requirements that are listed on there. So that there's more than 50,000 courses out there, over 400 institutions, so really very much endless choice. I used the example of history a little bit earlier, but looking at that, yes, you can do a course in history. Yeah, quite a general program, like I say, it could vary from university to university. But if when you've been completing your studies, you know, through GCSEs, A-levels, you know, there's a particular part of that subject area that excites you, something that you really think, I want to find out more about that. You might find a very specialised degree program, and these are just some of the programs relating to history that are available here in the UK. So the more common ones, things like English history, international history. But, you know, maritime history, this one fascinates me. That maritime history is a history of the sea and a history of sailing and that kind of thing. So very much something you might want to look into. You know, and there's various other permutations. Obviously, I'm looking at history here. You know, you could apply this to other subject areas, very much so. You know, so if we're looking at psychology, if we're looking at sport, just to name a couple there, you know, you would find different courses within the same sort of subject area. If you've got a specific career in mind, you might find a very vocationally based degree, I suppose you could say, whether that's looking at medicine, if you want to go on to be a doctor, dentistry, veterinary science, policing, going on to be a teacher. There are so many degree programs that really will put you on the road to the job that you hope to get at the end of your time at university. Now, I touched upon entry requirements a couple of moments ago on that UCAS website, and they do differ from university to university. Again, I'm going to take that example of history. History at one university will have a particular set of modules within it, but it will have a certain entry requirement. So they might ask for 96 UCAS points, for instance, which is the equivalent of 3 Cs from A-level or A-level equivalents. Now, just because that course at one university has that entry there, if you go to another university down the road, they could ask for more points or less points. In terms of the UCAS tariff, some of you will have come across this already. And it's 81% of universities in the UK work on points entry, so from your level 3 qualifications. And you'll find details of that UCAS tariff on the UCAS website. Your level 3 qualifications, so that's A-levels, BTECs, Cambridge Technicals, all that kind of thing, will have points attached to them. So if you get a particular grade at the end of it, you'll get a certain amount of points. There are still universities as well that will ask for grades. So some will say, we expect you to have AAB, for instance, to move on to that course. So it's important that you have a look. And as part of your research, okay, you need to find out what your predicted grades are going to be for UCAS. So you're pitching yourself very much at the right level. Okay, you don't want to go for 5 courses that are probably perhaps out of reach in terms of the grades that you're likely to get at the end of it. What I would suggest is you've got 5 different you've got 5 options on your UCAS form. I would personally go for perhaps one that is 1 or 2 that are slightly more aspirational, so either in line with what your predicted grades are or perhaps slightly above. I would have a couple that are broadly in line with the grades you predicted, and I would have one that is a little bit of an insurance choice, a little bit lower. Okay, so when you're making your selection, so it's important as part of your research, and you'll be doing this through UCAS and on the university websites as well, and through those prospectuses. Okay, make sure that you're going to be broadly in line with those entry requirements. For some degree programs, they will be expecting certain level 3 qualifications. So they might say you've got to have A-levels in biology and chemistry, for instance. So it's important that you have a look at that. And on the UCAS website, in your entry profile, it will very much tell you about that. You might want to know, is there an interview that you've got to go to? Have you got to an audition? These are all things that you'll find out on the UCAS website. And indeed, as you start to delve deeper into those individual universities as well. League tables. I often get asked about this when I'm out in schools and colleges. What league tables should we be having a look at? Well, some of the main ones out there are obviously the Complete University Guide, the Guardian, the Times, the National Student Survey. And you can rank universities and indeed the courses within those universities on something such as student satisfaction, entry grades, research quality, graduate prospects. So what those people go on to do, what jobs they're going to do, student to staff ratio. There's just some of the things that you can rank a university on. I was actually reading an article this morning on a website called Wonky. And there are a couple of things that you can actually find now within league tables. You can rank universities based upon their cycling provision and also most Instagrammable universities. So how many times they crop up in tags on Instagram. So there are a couple of things that, perhaps slightly unusual, but things that might be important to you when you're having a look at these league tables. Traditionally, I would have said to you, go to an exhibition. This year, in 2020, it's been quite a difficult year. The sort of summer programme of exhibitions for UCAS and UK University Search were cancelled owing to COVID. This autumn, they will be offering virtual exhibitions. There's quite a lot of virtual exhibitions out there. National School and College Leaver Show, UK University Search, UCAS have all got those opportunities out there, with the hope as well to do some face-to-face exhibitions in the spring of 2021. Typically at these things, you'll get lots of different exhibitors who'll be there to give you an overview of the university and the course. signpost you to other information, allow you to sign up for to get a prospectus in the post. So do be engaging with those. You can certainly speak to perhaps a lot more on a virtual fair than you would face to face. And university open days through autumn 2020 and into 2021. It remains to see how these are going to run at the moment. Ours are going to be, as I speak today, they're going to be virtual open days this autumn, where you can speak to academics, you can speak to current students, you can speak to those support staff. Okay, you go on virtual tours. I think that's really important. But be engaging with those open days. I know many universities will be running socially distanced campus tours as well. So you might find information on those on their website as you start to go and have a look around. So that brings me towards the end of my part of this presentation. In terms of virtual engagement, you can sign up for open days across a range of universities. Webinars, such as this one today, are a fantastic thing to watch. You can find out a lot about the university application process, and indeed about subject areas. And on university websites, you'll find some really good videos relating to that application process, to the courses, and some good guidance that will help you as you're picking your university and picking your course for the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. Really appreciate that. And it's really useful that you come from basically two angles: your experience of being a head of sixth form and also now working at university. So you're kind of aware of the choices that students have got and how to support them with that. So excellent presentation. Really, really grateful for that, David. Thank you. Our next speaker today is Elle, who's joining us from Lancaster University. And Elle is going to do a session that's kind of linking very closely to David's, but concentrating more on how to choose a university. I'm always conscious of these events. You want to hear from Elle and not from myself. So I'll go straight to Elle, please, for an introduction to choosing a university. Over to you, Elle.
So I'm going to be looking more closely at how you go about choosing the university, so a bit more about the research and the things to look into, specifically about the university, because as very much as I see it, it is a match between finding the right course for yourself, and David's talked quite well about some of the considerations and things to look into there, but then also you want to match that where you want to be studying in a place that you are happy and that offers you what you are looking for. So as everyone said, my name is Elle Zientek. I'm a student recruitment assistant at Lancaster University. I also studied and graduated from Lancaster a couple of years ago. And since then, I've done this role where I'm sort of talking to students and advising them. But I've also done that in the setting of in a further education college, working with students studying a wide range of different courses, from A-levels to more vocational courses. So again, I've got that experience both personally myself. It wasn't too long ago I was doing this, but then also the same as you guys, you know, I've been advising people through this process. So in my little bit here, I'm just going to talk through firstly the considerations that you have about why you might want to go to university, and how what you're looking for from university should then inform what you find out and what you research into. And then, as I say, I'll just highlight some things perhaps that you might want to consider, and then you guys can go away and decide, you know, is that the kind of stuff that I want to know about and am I looking for from my university choice? So there's lots of reasons why students might want to go to university, and it's important to consider what it is that you're wanting from that experience. So as well as obviously the chance to study that particular course, what other extra things are you looking for? So some common things that people say they want to go to university for are for these new experiences. So think about in particular, what might those experiences be? If there are specifics, you know, check and see, do these universities that you're considering offer you those opportunities and those new experiences that you particularly are looking for? For others, it's about that independence. You know, how independent would you feel going to that university? And that might tie a lot into location and where in the country you go, which I'll talk about a little bit more. And then finally, something that David did also mention, this idea of graduate prospects. If what you are going to go on afterwards and achieve in terms of a job and a career is really important to you, then you want to really look into those graduate prospects and what that university is offering for you in terms of support around those areas. So keep those kind of things in mind, determine for yourself what it is that you want from university, and then have those in mind then when you go on to look at researching these places and thinking about what you might need to consider and find out about. So in particular, I'm going to talk about location. So, I mean, David already hinted towards this idea of maybe you want to stay at home or maybe you want to move away, and I'm going to go a little bit more into detail about that. But also then other things in terms of the support that is available and offered by that university, how happy are students who are currently there. Facilities, often something perhaps that might get a little bit overlooked, particularly when you're not able to go potentially in person in the same way that you would have done. Still try and find out about that information. And then finally, also that social side to university. As much as it's very important that you're going there for that course and to achieve what you want to, you do also want to have a good time while you're there and have those social opportunities that you want. So firstly, looking at location. Now, for some of you, you will have a very definite idea of what, how far or you are willing to travel or how much you don't want to travel. But some of the things beyond that to kind of consider might be in terms of connections for transport. How easy is it for you to get there and get back home at the holidays? Or maybe how easy is it for you to go and visit other places? Some of you will be very interested in going to a city or being nearby various cities. So again, do look into those. For others, particularly, if maybe your hobbies lend to it more, you might be quite interested in being somewhere in the countryside or somewhere at least where you can get to places like our national parks, because maybe you really enjoy biking or hiking or anything like that. So you want to be then at a university that's going to give you that opportunity. For others, you might really like the coast. I mean, it's not often that we have the weather for it, but when we do, you might want that opportunity, in which case a really central, somewhere in the centre of the UK is not going to be that suitable for you. So you're wanting to go somewhere then that maybe allows you to go to the coast. So just to expand on the point of, for some of you, you'll want to stay home and commute to university, or at least stay somewhere that you kind of know the area and stay fairly local. And that's perfectly great. That has many advantages to it. You've got the support of family and friends, you've got those home comforts, and it might actually work out cheaper for you to do it like that than it is to move away. But then for others, you will be wanting that experience of moving away, and only you can determine, what away constitutes as. For some people, that's been 30 minutes by the train. For others, that's a couple of hours drive. People sort of associate this with a more stereotypical student experience, but it just depends if that's the experience you are looking for, if you are wanting that kind of opportunity to move somewhere new and to move away. You might be doing it for reasons to do with job prospects. So if, job, your career and things like that is a big factor for why you're going to university, then perhaps the location and what job prospects that might offer you will be something that you need to consider. And again, it might be that it's a cheaper option for you. This will really depend on where you live in the country. So living costs is definitely something to look into, not just the price of accommodation, but things like transport costs for if you're going to travel home or if you want to go and visit other places in the UK, but just the day-to-day costs that you might have, consider those and then look at your kind of budget and things like that and work out maybe if that's an advantage to go to particular places or not for yourself. Final say that's kind of tied into location is this idea that universities can broadly fit into two types. They can be seen as campus universities or they can be seen as city-based. So campus is, Lancaster is a good example of this, where all our facilities are all together in one place and it's very sort of student orientated and self-contained. Now, other universities can be in a city, in amongst, and the buildings are a bit more spread out. Now, personally, for myself, when I was choosing universities, I really thought I'd want the city. I thought I'd feel more independent, that sense of freedom, and a bit more kind of grown up by doing that. But actually, then when I went and visited, it turned out it wasn't really the right feel for me, and that actually I preferred the convenience of being a 5-minute walk from a lecture theatre, from having that kind of community feel of a campus. So for some of you, that again will be a big thing, and you'll know that you either really want one or you really want the other, or you might not be bothered. And again, you might then just have a mixture of those in your choices. Now, David did mention this a little bit. So in terms of satisfaction, and the National Student Survey is a really big one for this. So it's a great way to kind of give you that honest insight into, you know, what are current students, so final year students, what have they thought to their time at university? And you can, again, you can get really in depth with the particular things that you want to know. So you can get a measure of the university as a whole. You can get on specific departments. So, you know, it might be that the university as a whole does really well and people really like it. But for the department that you'd be going into, maybe it doesn't score so well. So then maybe you should think a little bit more about, is that a good choice for yourself? And it can cover lots of little independent things like academic support, resources and things like that. So again, this is just a good way to gauge it, but always just remember that, you know, you might like it for that reason, somebody else might not like it for that same reason. So again, still be conscious of, you know, yourself and your own feelings about a place. Now, something I mentioned again, this idea of graduate prospects for some of you, that career path, what you can go on to, again, is a main factor for why you're going to university. In which case, it should be a really big factor for them when you're deciding, you know, which universities and which courses you're interested in. So not only look at what they call the graduate outcomes, so in terms of, you know, the percentage of students that go on to professional level work or go into further study, do also then look at the career service. What support does that university actually offer you? If there's any particular opportunities you know you really want, so things like you know, working with people in industry, getting to know about particular projects and work experience, check and see if that's an opportunity that university can provide you with. You know, if there's mentoring that you want and things like that, or you want to connect with particular types of employers, see if they run events that will then allow you to take advantage of those. Because if that's a big thing for you, you want to make sure that place is offering it. Facilities, this is another area which, again, is quite easy to forget, particularly nowadays where it's harder for you to go in person and see the actual places and spaces. So do think about, you know, if there's any particular equipment that's specialist to your subject area that you're considering. Do they have it? How much access would you have to it? But also more generally, you know, just the general study spaces, the general look of the buildings, how new and fresh are they? How much money is that university putting into those facilities? And just kind of really make sure that, you know, it's ticking the boxes for what you want, both as a, you know, a place to study and learn, but also, you know, socially, what kind of spaces does it have and do they suit what you'd be looking for? A big part of facilities, if you're moving away, will be accommodation. So do make sure that you factor that in when you are considering, you know, look at, you know, do they have the types of accommodation that you'd be interested in? Is it within your price range for you to go there? Again, one thing, you know, not every university guarantees accommodation. So do look if that is a possibility and what kind of options they have available to you. In this final section, I'm just going to switch from kind of all the core stuff and the study stuff that we've kind of talked about and talk more about the social opportunities, because university is a really excellent chance for you to just try new things, get involved in loads of different activities that nowhere else in your life really do you have as many opportunities available to you and the time to do so. So think about, you know, what in that would you look for? Do you want some chance to do some volunteering? If so, look at what does the student union offer in terms of those opportunities? What welfare support can they give you? Societies, a really big part of university life is that, you know, getting involved in different groups and clubs and sort of those fun activities that are available to you. So they can broadly fit into 3 categories, you know, being academic related, so they're linked to a particular department, in which case, look if there is one for your department and what kind of activities do they do. They then tend to be either hobby or sort of interest-based. Again, if you've got something that you want to continue on with, look to see if they offer it. And then also they might be more sports-based as well. So work out if there's any societies that you'd want to be a part of and join, and then obviously see, do they offer it? So here I've got quite a big example of just some of the things that are on offer at universities across the country. So some of these you might be thinking, well, I'm already doing that. And yes, I want to continue on with that at university. So in which case you want to make sure they offer it. But for others, it might be something you've always wanted to try and you've never had that opportunity to do so. So again, make sure that maybe that is something they are providing you with. Obviously, sports for some people is a really big thing. So whether you want to be part of a team, in which case, do you have any specific ideas about what level you want to compete at? Do you want to do it recreationally, or would you actually like to represent the university? In which case, what competitions do they take part in? But also with that, again, comes this idea of facilities. It's obvious if you really like swimming, you want to go somewhere where they've either got a swimming pool or where you can easily access a public one. Otherwise, you're going to lose that part that you really enjoy. So again, make sure that those kind of opportunities and facilities are there for you. So really what I'm just trying to say is that, as well as with the course, same with the university, work out what matters to you. What factors and things and opportunities do you want to have access to? And you might have to prioritize one over the other. So, is it the perfect course, or is it but at a place that wasn't ticking all your boxes, or was it the perfect place but maybe the course wasn't quite up to it? Think about what those priorities are for you and make sure that in your choices you've got what you're looking for. In terms of finding out that information, obviously there's lots of places, and David's already mentioned some of those places. So make sure that you are getting it from different ones so that you know that you're getting a true reflection of what is it actually like at that university. So just give you a few more places where you can go and research. I've put Lancaster here as an example. David mentioned as well for Newman. The universities themselves, their websites are a wealth of knowledge. They have lots of stuff going on them. And also, particularly now at the moment, a lot of them are running general webinars. So again, you can see the link here for us, but loads of universities will have that. A lot of them are also doing online events, taster sessions, things like that. So do sign up to any that you are interested in. They might be linked to that particular uni, or they might be just general topics that will really help you with making your decisions around your next steps. Prospects is another example I've put here. So this is really good for kind of doing some career-based research. UCAS as well, one that David mentioned. And then also I've just put in a couple of examples of those league tables, but there's really lots out there. And, today you're listening to this through UniTasterDays. Again, a really great way of connecting yourself to these different events that are being hosted that will help you with making these decisions. So just to finish off from me, university is very much, if what you put into it is what you will get back out of it. So put the time in now, do the research, make sure it is, what it is you're looking for, and make sure you try your hardest, and then make sure that that university that you're putting down on that list of choices offers you it. Because if you do that now, and then when you get there and you throw yourself into it, you will really have a great time. Make the most of it, enjoy that time when you get there. But for the moment, best of luck with your futures, and thank you very much.